All right, let's move to Saturday now. We have Georgia Tech and Wake Forest. ACC matchup here. Wake Forest 3.5, 4-point home favorite, 61 the total. And here's a number that's moved significantly. And this is absolutely a reaction to what bettors just saw from Wake Forest last week. Inept performance, brutal performance. And Old Dominion's not necessarily a great football team this year. And for Wake Forest to look like that against ODU, and I know they came back and they won 27-24, but they were trailing much of that game, and it was dire straits for a long period of time. Not really what you want to see. And look, Vanderbilt, they beat them 36-20, but I think it's safe to say Vanderbilt has not impressed to the level we all thought. They haven't covered a point spread this year, Vanderbilt, 0-4, and of course lost outright to UNLV last week. So I think combination of, wow, that Vanderbilt win doesn't look as good now for Wake Forest, and the way they played against Old Dominion, and the betting markets are souring on the idea of laying 7 when this line opened with the Deacons. Nobody wanted a part of that. And I think people saw that even with a tough beat for anybody on Georgia Tech last week, plus the points against Ole Miss, they put up a hell of a battle against a really good football team there. And so I certainly agree with the move. The question is now, can you want to take it at 3.5, 4 when you could add 6, 6.5, 7 just 24 hours ago? But it's been a significant move here toward the Georgia Tech side. There are things to like about Georgia Tech. Their defense is clearly still a work in progress, no doubt. I mean, Louisville ripped them apart. They struggled with Ole Miss as well defensively. But there's hope for the offense here for Georgia Tech. I like what I've seen from Haynes King, the A&M transfer at quarterback. He's played very well so far this year. Jamal Haynes leading the run game as well, along with Trey Cooley. And look, they deserved, I thought, the point spread cover there against Ole Miss last week. So I agree with the move. It's Georgia Tech plus the points for me. This is another one where it's probably over or pass for me from a totals perspective. I know last week's Wake game stayed under, but the defense was rough against an offense that's probably not as good as the Georgia Tech offense they're going to face here. So probably over would be the play for me if I'm looking at the total. What do you think here, Conor? Georgia Tech, Wake.
Yeah, I went with Old Dominion. It was one of my late plays right in the morning. I took the 2 touchdowns. They should have won the game. They really blew it.
They should have.
The whole game, they had it. And Wake Forest just got behind. Turnovers. I think they had a couple fumbles and a pick. But they came roaring back and won the game. They might win the game here, but I don't want to lay points with them at all. But I don't have enough trust with Georgia Tech. Haynes King, it's just something about him. This is like the better for him to be playing at, and he looks better, Savannah. But I still have just issues with him. I don't know if I got my money on him. And is this total enough? This is pretty high. Does it go back and forth? We get an over? I'm not so sure. So this is one I have nothing right now.
All right, nothing here for Conor Mack. It is worth noting when I'm looking at both of these teams on the defensive side of the football. The one thing about Wake Forest's offense is, Wake Forest, they're 3.8 yards per carry, but you got a Georgia Tech defense that's given up 6.4 yards per carry. So you got a Wake team that struggled at times to run the ball, but Georgia Tech's really been gashed defensively against the run. So what's going to win out there is going to be an interesting question. And then on the flip side, you look at Wake on the defensive side of the ball. They've definitely been weaker, so far against the pass. And Georgia Tech, when you look at their offense, their offense has actually been pretty solid throwing the ball, 20th in passing yards per game, good completion rate from Haynes King. So I just think that Georgia Tech is probably going to be able to do more of what they want to do on offense, perhaps, than Wake. So another reason maybe why Georgia Tech here seeing some money in the last 24 hours.